Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. I'm super excited to talk today with one of my friends and amazing marketing experts, Sophia. Sophia, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for being here. Oh my God, my vacation brain is now just getting back online. But you guys, I have been wanting to have Sophia share her wisdom because we know that social media marketing, creating visibility is just so critical to building and growing your business. And yet so many of us are like, what the heck do I post? What do I even post? How do I do it? Like the whole messaging realm can feel so wonky. And so I have been on Sophia's list for a while, love her messaging. I'm a follower. And so I just reached out and I'm like, hey, we need help. Will you come share your wisdom? So welcome.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, cool. So share, you've got a lot going on. Will you please share? I know you've got a podcast going on. You definitely give amazing information on Instagram. Just kind of share a little bit about your brilliance.
Where I hang out. Gosh, I like to hang out in a few different places because I feel like people just they like to absorb information in different ways. And so I have a podcast. Thank you so much for mentioning it. It's like literally my pride and joy. It's called Marketing Unfiltered. And we actually have a really handy series going on right now, I got to say, called #SorryNotSorry. And it's basically my excuse to be very real talk and to the point around what the heck everyone's doing wrong with their marketing. And so that's going on right now. I hang out on Instagram, like you mentioned. And I got a really juicy email list called Marketing Mail, where I share like formulas you should be using every week and math equations to understand what numbers you need to hit for your goals. And that's what's going on today, in fact. So we're pretty juicy over there. And that's really where I like to hang out. And then, of course, I've got the Go-To Coach Club, which is where I spend most of my time.
Yes, the Go-To Coach Club. Fantastic. So really what I want to kind of get some of your ideas on and your brilliance on is, what do you see people need to focus on the most to like create some visibility so that they can attract their ideal clients? And, we know that people get so darn stuck in so many different ways because they just don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to position. Like, can we just start at the basics?
Yes. I love that we're actually starting at the basics because I feel like a lot of people skip the basics. I think we tend, as coaches, as business owners in general, we tend to want to go right to what's fancy because we see that happening all around us and it feels very attractive and very sexy. And we want to be a part of that. And we feel like if we're a part of that, that like legitimizes us as coaches. But actually, if you skip what I would call, and I think this is what most people would call it, but like everyone's got different names for things. I honestly think this comes down to your messaging. You're not going to get visible without the right message. You're not going to get engagement without the right message. You're not going to make sales without the right message. I truly think until we understand what our message is, there's very little that can happen on any platform. And I think that there's some signs that you haven't actually decided on your message, which I always find to be an interesting conversation because I think a lot of people think, oh, I have a message. I know who I help. This is my niche. That's not actually a message, right? I'm glad you know that information, like very like good, right? That's going to help you. But your message really comes down to how you think, right? It really comes down to how you approach the work that you're doing with clients. What are your beliefs in the work that you do, right? So for example, my messaging comes very much down to relationships. I think it is literally the key to every single thing in your marketing. And how this all started for me is I had to understand, or I had to get clear on what were my beliefs within my business. And what I realized I believe was content is not king. And most people in this marketing world are preaching content is king, content is king, content is king. Post more often, 3 times a day, whatever. It's so ingrained in us that we have to really be focusing on content. However, in my opinion, relationships are king. Content is secondary to that. If you do not have the relationships, your content ain't going to work. right? It's not going to, no one's going to even see that freaking content that you spent 3 years working on, right?
Yes.
So for me, relationship is king. Now that is part of my message. I obviously have more messaging, right? But what this does when I identify what my message is above everything else is now I actually have the ability to stick out from the crowd over someone else. So for example, there is someone in the world, I won't mention names here. I won't even mention gender, just so that I don't like draw too much attention to this person. But there is someone out in the world, a very well-known Instagram educator, right? So does a lot of the same work that I do. I maybe do a little bit more styles of marketing, but we both talk about Instagram marketing a lot. And this person is of the mindset that you should be posting a minimum of once a day. This person actually advises, if you can, post 3 times a day. Now, of course, our advice is very different. If we were to take away our beliefs, our content would be almost identical. We both have done our testing. We know how the algorithm works. We'll explain to you how that works. We have very similar success stories. We have, so much that is almost identical. If you took our likeness away and our beliefs, it would be almost the exact same person, right? But when you add our beliefs, this person believes in going viral. This person believes in trends. This person believes in mediocre content. This person believes in consistent content over clarity on your messaging. I believe in relationships. I believe in messaging. I believe in quality over quantity. I believe in making one post work better so that you can post less often. I believe in work-life balance. I think this person also believes in work-life balance, but they have a different way to go about it. They're like, instead they're like, just don't post great content, which I just can't get behind. But my point is, because our messaging is so clear, we are completely different people. We will attract completely different collaborators, and we will attract completely different clients, and we will build a completely different presence. And when people discover us looking for Instagram educators, they're going to know, are they for Sophia or are they for this other person?
Yes.
For me, it all comes down to, do you know your message? And how you know if you know your message is, have you identified how you think differently than other people in your field? Long answer, but I hope that made sense.
No. Oh my God. That is so good. That's so good, because really if we don't identify what makes us different, then we're generalists. And that's one of the things that I see happening with my ideal clients a lot. And I know that you speak into this too, is they just want to help everybody. They don't want to get specific on the message, but it is so important, because if you had to have heart surgery, you wouldn't go to a family doctor, you would go to a heart surgeon, you would go to a specialist, and people want specialists. And that really is a critical component that makes you stand out, is what is special about you?
Yep.
And how can you communicate that so people know, is this person for me or is this person for me? I love that. So, or whatever.
100%. I think this part also, there's so much, I get so much resistance about becoming a specialist. And it's interesting. I don't know why there's so much resistance to that. Like when I was, I don't know, I knew exactly who I wanted to help right away. And I think it's because I had such amazing experiences with coaches. And so when I decided I was going to help coaches specifically, it was such an easy decision for me. And what people tend to get afraid, and now we're talking about niching, which can be a little bit different from messaging, but still it's holding each other's hands, just so that people are clear. But what I find interesting is people feel resistance about being so specific, because they feel like they're isolating themselves from other types of people they can help and things like that. But what I have found actually is, when you get very clear on your beliefs and very clear on like the results you help people achieve, and therefore you get very clear on the niche, right? It doesn't mean that people outside of that industry, like I get emails all the time from people, real estate agents, and other people being like, hi, your content speaks to me. I know you help coaches, just curious if your programs would also help someone like me. And now I get to actually have a conversation with this person. Will it help? Will it not? But what this has proven to me is, you can still, when you're working on your beliefs and coming at it from that place, now you're speaking to the heart of the potential client, not the head, right? You're making them feel things. And that also is what creates movements online. So I also think having that shift and not being afraid to get specific, because when you do, now you're actually evoking emotion, and that creates a desire for people to want to work with you, because they're actually feeling something with your content.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So good, Sophia. Totally. Totally. I like am high-fiving you here on all of it because
High-fiving you back.
it's so true. And it's so important. And, it's funny because, when I'm having some conversations with my clients, I don't even really like to start with niche. A niche evolves
Yeah.
and it happens if you get clear on your message, if you
Yes.
get clear on who it is that you are excited and how you want to help them and support them, the niche will evolve from there.
Yeah, it's funny. I say the same thing. Like I've had a lot of people come to me being like, "Oh, I know I'm supposed to decide my niche, but I'm really struggling to decide between this person and that person."
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, "Wait a second. It's not actually about the type of person.
Yeah.
It's actually about experiences that they're having. Again,
Yeah.
beliefs that you
Yeah.
have within the industry, which will resonate with certain experiences people are having."
Right.
When we come at it from that way, I can be targeting a 65-year-old in North Dakota doing one thing and a 22-year-old in San Francisco doing another thing. Like, it's not really about the type of person. It's about experiences, right? And I feel like that's not always the case. There are some situations where, like for me, I do target coaches, right?
Yeah.
I know this, but I technically, like, kind of like what I alluded to, like if I want to target coaches because of the work I've done with coaches, and I feel like everyone needs a coach. That's where, like, that's why I want to target coaches.
Yeah.
I could go about this a different way and really just think about this, like the circumstances people are in, the experience that they're having, and just speak to results and experiences, and then speak to a broader, in terms of like demographic, a broader demographic, but really zeroing in on the results I'm achieving and the circumstances they might in. That's still niching, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's just,
Totally.
it's just understanding like the work you want to do. And again, back to the original point, and the beliefs you have within the work that you do.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you are talking about also when, we take a look at the outliers, right? So, so often they're like, well, I don't want to like not be able to work with this person or not be able to work with this person. I'm like, there's nothing that says that you can't, but your content, your message needs to be, to the 80% of the people that you most love to serve and that are going to get the best results for you. It doesn't mean that if you work with women in menopause that, a man who reaches out that you can't serve them. Of course you can, but we want to have a specific focus so that people can actually raise their hand and be like, yes, oh my gosh, that's me. Like, that is what I'm struggling with. That is what I need support with.
Yeah. I mean, that is so important. It's also important because from back to my personal belief around relationships, right?
Yeah.
It's going to make building relationships a lot easier for you too. For example, I know who I target. I know the experiences that they're in. When I get invitations to be on summits or podcasts, or when I am looking for podcasts to be on, I know I am prioritize the people that are also working with coaches, right? Because I know that we have a very specific, first of all, I can speak so clearly to these people because I've worked with them for so long. But also me and the host, right? We have a connection that's going to be different between me and someone who might be helping people sell products. Like, we can't vibe in the exact same way because we haven't been doing the exact same work. You know what I mean? We haven't been speaking to the exact same person.
Yeah.
So I also think that getting specific when you get to a point in your business where, and I hope you're doing this right away, because I think this is one of the most important things, building relationships and pitching and collaborating. If someone were to come to me and be like, hey, I also, actually, this is exactly how we met. You were like, I also help coaches. This is what I do. I see that there's a way we can both help people. What do you think? It was so much easier to say yes to you than another invitation I got from someone who helps people sell products on Amazon. Yeah, there are some similarities, but not my first choice collaborator because like we're not fully aligned. Do you know what I mean? So it also makes your pitches more effective when you get clear on this as well.
Oh, this is so good. I really want to kind of jump back to relationships because you and I both have such a heart for that. We really believe that, I love what you just said earlier with relationships are king. I believe that is foundational of any business. And especially for people, coaches and heart-centered, people that want to make an impact in the world, relationships are so important. And I think that they get scared of marketing because they feel like it's inauthentic, it's not genuine, and they're not sure how to actually engage in relationships online.
Yeah.
Could you speak into kind of like, where would somebody start with that? What are some of the mistakes that you feel people are making around that and what they could do instead?
Yes. I want to start with a mistake actually, because I think this can set us up. I think there's one humongous mistake, and I want to start there because I feel like as soon as everyone learns this, it can make your life so much easier. The big mistake I see is that people are so expectant of everyone wanting to rally around their business and support their business and say yes to every invitation that they send out when they themselves aren't doing any work to support these other people, right? That drives me bananas. I'm like, I get questions inside of the Go-To Coach Club sometimes from people who are like, and I will say most of my members are very clear on this, so I don't get this question often, but there was a time in my life where I'd get a lot of questions from Go-To Coach Club members being like, I don't get it. Like, I'm not getting any engagement. I want people to be reposting me. I want people to do this. I want people to come into my question stickers and ask me questions. And I want people to repost all of my great content. Like, why is no one doing that? And I was like, when's the last time you did that for someone? And they're like, oh, well, I mean, I don't really live on social media. Like sometimes I ask my assistant to do it. Sometimes she does it, maybe once a month. And I'm like, okay, well, if you want that kind of support, you have to give that kind of support. That is the easiest way to build relationships online where you are not just creating buzz around yourself, but you are creating buzz around someone else.
Yes.
When you show up in the spirit of collaboration, magic happens.
Oh my gosh. Amen. Oh my gosh. I'm just like,
it's such an underrated, and like literally this can be something that you do on your to-do list every day. Find maybe you even have a list of people that you're like, oh my gosh, I am obsessed with these 10 people. Like if I were to host a summit 1 year from now, like this is my summit vision board. You can start there because sometimes it's easier to think of your own business and what you want to do in 6 months or whatever. So if that's easier for you, fine. Make a list of like 10 dream, like summit vision board people, right? Write them on the list and literally every day make it a point to support them. Repost some content to their story, cheer them on, slide into their DMs and ask a question, refer a client to them, be a participant online if you want people to participate with your business, right? So give first. It's not, and by the way, we're not giving because now we're expecting they owe us something. That's not the vibe here, right? They may or may not give back to you. And that's just part of the journey. There's going to be lots of people that you won't be able to give back to just simply because of timing or whatever it is. So that's just part of it. But if you show up in this generous capacity to give to others, they are going to want to give to you too. So mistake one, this is what people aren't doing, but also step one, that's literally where you can start, right? Like who repost at least a couple of people every single day, comment on people's posts, like build that buzz that you crave. So that's one way of building relationships. I also think, I mean, gosh, there's so many things I could even talk about here. Like relationships is so my jam, right?
Yes. And it's the key though. Like it really is what unlocks, the potential and the opportunity and building and growing your business in a way that is also really fun.
Yeah, exactly. And right now we're talking about it from the capacity of like networking relationships, which I think are so important. So give back to people and shout them out and just build buzz around them. Say yes. If they reach out like, hey, would you mind promoting my thing? Say yes, because guess what? They're probably going to want to do the same for you next time. Right. So, or maybe, hey, don't even wait for an invitation. Like say, hey, I want to support you. How can I support you? Like make that first move.
Yes.
But that's an easy way to build a relationship. I also think, something that having a podcast has really helped me do is create a platform where I can give back to people, right? It's such an easy place for me to be like, come on, let's have a conversation. And again, when I have a launch, it doesn't necessarily mean everyone who's been a guest on my podcast is going to be an affiliate or any of that, but at least I have people that I have relationships with now that I can make that invitation, right? So you don't have to start a podcast to do that, but you could do an Instagram live series. Maybe you're going to have someone on 10 minutes once a week to do a live with people that you think are awesome so that your community can learn from them. There's lots of ways to create your own platform to support other people. So those are relationships for like networks, like your networking collaborations and things like that. There's also relationships for potential clients.
Yeah.
And I think what we're not doing as well is we're posting content again from the mindset of, oh, I need to post, I need to be out there versus, oh, like I need to post to connect, right? Posting to show up is, or I should say posting just to post is different from posting to connect, right? If we're posting to connect, you're going to come at it completely differently. You're probably going to think like, who is this post serving, right? There's a reason I am posting this today. Is it because people ask me this question a lot? Is it because I was just on a discovery call where they asked this? Is this because I just had a DM with someone and they asked this question? Is it because there's someone that like asked me a question on a DM 3 months ago and I haven't heard from them and I would like to post something answering question they asked and message it to them, right? Like, I feel like we're coming at it in the wrong like mindset, right? We're just, it's a to-do list item versus an opportunity to connect. So you could do this a lot of different ways. Like I said, you could be on DMs, sorry, not DMs, discovery calls, or I don't know that your community does discovery calls, but whatever that is, like whatever connection.
We still do clarity calls, but that,
clarity calls.
Yeah, for sure. But I think what we're talking about here is like, even what happens even before a clarity call, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not just like, at least one of the big things that I see that drives me bananas is when I get, this, you can certainly tell that it's copy paste. And it's just, I'm trying to reach 1 million women, like it's a pitch in my DMs before they even know who I am.
Oh, that's my biggest pet peeve.
Like, number one, like you obviously have not even looked at my profile because I'm definitely not your ideal client, right? I don't need to create 10K months. I'm already there. Thank you. I hope others do that.
Yeah.
It's like, that drives me bananas because it's like it takes less than 2 minutes to go to whether it's an Instagram profile or a Facebook profile to just see or even connect with them first before you're like,
oh yeah. Yeah. I just had someone reach out to me being like, with your expertise in fitness, I think, oh my God, no, actually, what was even worse than that? Cause like hilarious because I'm not in fitness.
I think you're talking about my husband.
That my husband's in fitness, but like not me. But what was even more hilarious was she starts this by longtime follower, first time contactor. And I'm like, longtime follower. I was like, okay, that's actually really what did get me to start listening because I was like, oh, I love my followers. I like to give back to my community.
Yeah.
But then she was just like, look, I work in this industry and I think you'd be such a great speaker for this fitness, something, because you have such an expertise in fitness. And in my head, I'm like, wow, it's one thing to not even look at my content. It's another thing to lie and say you are a member of my community. Like that is so awful, like it's so dishonest. I can't even deal. So it's like, that right there. This is why I'm such a fan of DMing, but not a fan of cold DMing, right? I feel like there's such a difference and a lot of people are afraid of DMs, but this is actually a great thing to build relationships as long as it is a warm DM, right? And these things can start in so many different ways. Like when I sometimes get a new follower or something like that, I will always look at their stuff, make sure that they're the right person. I will notice like a coach will follow me and I don't know, maybe they heard me on a podcast, maybe like, who knows, right? So I like to reach out and say, hey, like, I'm so excited that you're here. I see that you are a such and such coach and just like be a human. Like, look, I'm here to help people. Like, it's not a big deal that you're not in one of my programs. Like, if I can help you, I want to help you. Is there a marketing question that you wish you had the answer to? If I can help you, I will. Sometimes I'll just ask a question like that. And they will usually be like, whoa, thank you so much. I just heard you on such and such podcast. I wasn't expecting to hear from you. I actually do have a marketing question. And right there, because I ask that question so often, I literally have content where I'm like, or a list where I'm like taking notes of what people are asking for. And P.S. people ask a lot of the same questions.
Yes.
And now I have data to be like, I'm going to create a post on these topics, or I've already created content on these topics. Either way, I can say to this person, guess what? I have a post that I just did a few months ago. Let me share it with you right now. Let me know if this helps you, if you've got any questions. Right there, I have just started to build a relationship without creating any new content. Or I can say, awesome. You know what? I don't have content for this right now, but I'm so grateful that you asked me for this. A lot of people are struggling with this, and I'm going to create something for you. Hold tight. I'll be back in the next few weeks, or however you want to word it. Right. Or I'll be back when I've created it. If you don't want to put a timeline on it, that's fine too. Then when you create it, literally go down the list of people that asked for it and tag them in the comments. Be like, hey, you asked for this. This is for you, or DM it to them, like whatever feels good to you. But now you are creating content to connect instead of just create content, right? So it's just a slightly different objective. You don't have to do it every single time, but it is one way to make sure your content's actually working for you and actually building relationships and actually creating a warm audience instead of a cold audience of people that are just observing from the sidelines.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love this so much, because this piece is, again, this relationship piece, and how to do it in a way that feels good and genuine and authentic, and not like a salesy weirdo just trying to spam everybody. And, we all get those, those spammy things, but, you are on Instagram and you're an Instagram expert. I grow my audience on Facebook and in Facebook groups, but it's the same, right? If someone new joins my Facebook group, I'm going to reach out to them just to say, hey, I'm so glad to have you here. Like, welcome. Is there any support that you're looking for that I can guide you to? I have a whole guide section. I've got some files. Would love to point you in the right direction, so that they feel warm and welcomed before you're just like, hey, do you want to buy my ABC thing? Like, no, like,
100%.
That's a component that many coaches don't know, because we're not taught it. I know for me, going through coaching school and health coach, life coach, even nutritional therapy, we weren't taught that. We were taught, very basic, this is how you would create an opt-in, or this is how, you post, like you said, post once a day. Well, and I hear the same thing with the engagement too. Oh, I'm not getting engagement. And I'm like, really? Oh, that's interesting. So it's actually our job as the host of our Instagram or Facebook group or whatever. It's our job as a host to create the engagement. It's not their job.
Yes. And this is honestly another thing I talk about a lot. You create the engagement. You don't wait for the engagement, and actually there's some crazy stats that if you think about how much content we scroll through, we actually, it's probably even less now because there's probably so much more content, but we actually only physically like or comment on 9% of the posts we see every single day. So if we see 100 posts, we're only actually touching it in a way that the host will see it 9 times. Right. So if you put that into perspective, any engagement that you get is like a gift. You know what I mean? Like, do stop saying I don't get enough engagement. Did you get 3? Amazing. Reach out to each of those 3 people today. Like, go on their page, give them back engagement, shout them out, ask them if there's a way you can help them. Say, I've noticed you on this page and I just wanted you to know I see you. I'm cheering you on. Even a message like that, like, make a connection. Those people always want more engagement, but I got to be honest, I don't think they would know what to do with more engagement. Right. Because no, they don't have any systems for building relationships. They just think the job is post content, pray to God that gets some engagement. And that's what I do. And then it's just going to magically turn into clients. No, my friend, like, you have to then know what to do with that engagement. How are you going to turn that engagement into a relationship that becomes a client? If you do not know the answer to that, you're not ready for more engagement. Get ready before you start complaining. And then maybe you'll get more engagement naturally and it will actually convert to clients. But until you do that, more engagement does not equal more clients. You're not an influencer. You're a business owner. This is completely different work. Right? So I think that's like a big thing. People should be expecting themselves to create that engagement and not just sit back and wait for it to happen.
Well, and I think the other thing that we see out there too, that I know, I've been, I noticed this when I first started, was that you see the big influencers, right? Of course, you're going to see more of them. And then you see them getting like all of these likes or all of these things. And so you think that that is what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
Right. And you end up comparing your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20, or you don't realize that, so-and-so who's been in business for 15 years also spent $100,000 on ads. So you're like, right. It's like, wait a minute, like we're not comparing apples to apples here.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a hard thing with social media, because you do see so many people that are so much further ahead than you. And I understand that it's really hard to separate yourself. This is actually one of the reasons why I never like they're quote unquote industry average. I mean, and I talk about industry averages because I feel like sometimes I have to just give people a starting point, because a lot of people don't know their numbers. Right. And this is another thing, like you really should know your numbers so that you don't have to look at other people's numbers. Cause if you know your numbers are going up, because you're aware, you're going to feel less compelled to look at like over the fence at the other person. Right. But if you don't know your numbers, like you kind of can't help but compare yourself, because you just feel what's going to happen is you're going to feel like you're doing all the things. You're going to feel so freaking busy with all the work that you are doing, but you might not be doing the right work. Right. So as an example, like email list growth, right? While I talk about social media a lot because that's my background, like I'm actually one of the few social media people that want you to look at your marketing systems a little more holistically. Like how is your email list supporting your social media and like all of it versus just focusing on one? Cause I'm like, why would anyone do that?
Yeah, totally.
But like list growth is a big thing that people think they are doing all the things to grow their list, but actually we're not aware of what our numbers are. So it's like, really, you should know, don't just say, I'm trying to grow my list this year. Say, I'm trying to grow my list by 100 people in the next 6 months or whatever your number is, right? If you want to grow by 100 people in the next 6 months, you should probably be getting in front of, let me just do some math real quick. I can do math. 3,000 people in order to get 100 people. Right?
1%. Is that what we're looking at?
That one's 3%. Yeah. Okay. But it could be 1%, right? This is the thing. If you knew your numbers, you'd know where you landed, quote unquote. Apparently a good industry average is 3%. So again, if you don't feel like your messaging is good, maybe go for the 1%. But if you do feel like your messaging is good, maybe it's a 3%, right? Because for your cold audience, you're likely to get a 1 to 3% conversion, right? So again, if your messaging is good, look at 3%. Now, if you were just saying, I just want to grow, and you're not actually looking at the numbers, you pitching yourself to be on an Instagram live with someone who has 7 followers, and then doing an in-person talk with someone who has two people that are going to be there. Well, all those things are great to do. And I actually still think you should do those things, because who knows where those relationships can lead to. I still collaborate like with audiences of all sizes. It does not matter to me. However, if I have a goal, because I'm trying to build my list to like hit a sales goal or whatever it is, right? If I have a specific goal and the numbers are 3,000, I know if I need to take bigger swings. I know that pitching to 10 people with 10 people on their list is not the same to pitching to 10 people, having one person say yes, but they have 75,000 people on their list. I know that effort is going to take the same amount of time, but one, it might actually get me my goal, right? So it's collaborating is like the best thing in the world that you can do. And not everyone is ready to be in front of people with 75,000 email lists. Like, it's just part of the journey, right? We all have to get there, So there's no shame in that, one step at a time, but you have to adjust your expectations, right? You have to understand it doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're not a kick-ass coach. It just means we need to get our feet wet. Right. We need to get out there. We need to get really specific on what we're talking about. We need to have a message so that when we go to that bigger list, because we know we have a list size goal of whatever it is, when we go to that bigger list, we can actually talk. We can be like, look, I know I have a smaller list than you. Like, I get that, but this is what I do know. Like, I help this type of person. I know that this is bullshit. I know that everyone's talking about this, but that's all not true. And I can talk to your list about what they should be doing instead. Because this is what my clients are receiving or doing or whatever it might be. You're going to come at that pitch with so much more energy and confidence because you did the work and because you didn't get in your head, right? You didn't think, I don't get it. I've done 10 collaborations, but I've only grown by 10 people. What's wrong with me? No, honey, there's nothing wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
You know your numbers, so you know this is part of the plan and you're not going to freak yourself out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's another really something that people don't think enough about. They're not clear on their numbers, not so that they can feel bad about them. You get clear in your numbers so you can actually put together a plan that makes sense, that can actually lead to something. And so that, you know, you're not going to like spiral, right? I can't remember who said this, but the saying is data over drama. And it's not mine. Someone else said it, but this is data over drama. When you know the data, you can avoid the drama. If you don't know the data, you're going to get wrapped up in the drama cyclone and completely lose yourself and talk yourself out of every marketing move you want to make.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. So true. And that's, you know, I think people do get scared of numbers, and they think that if they're not doing well, or if their numbers aren't where they want to be, they, you know, feel bad. But really, I see that as an opportunity for growth. I see that I want to know my numbers so that I can see, where do I want to grow, you know, and if I don't have that information, then I don't know where to go. Right. We're just, you know, throwing spaghetti at the wall and just like, well, maybe this will work, but then you don't even really know whether or not it's working or not working if you don't have anything to measure, right?
100%.
That's another one. Like, you know, what you measure, you can grow.
100%, because I mean, it might even be like the lead magnet. It could be, there's so many things it could be that have nothing to do with the actions you're taking, but you can't really see that clearly until you know your numbers. So
this is such an amazing conversation. Oh my God, I could talk, Sophia, I seriously could talk with you like all day. This is so good. All right, everybody, I want you to make sure that you connect with Sophia. And by the way, she's amazing. She'll absolutely reach out. I love your messages to me, by the way, the voice messages, just to connect and just to like say hello are so awesome. But I want you to share about the Go-To Coach Club, because you've got amazing stuff in there. And so I want people to be able to, if you're hearing this and it's resonating with you and you want to learn more, you know, definitely go check out Sophia on Instagram. But I also want you to know that, you know, she helps people inside of the Go-To Coach Club with exactly what it is that we're talking about today.
Yes, this is like the Go-To Coach Club. How I describe it to people is it's like your Kajabi for DIY marketing, right? There's literally everything underneath one roof. If you're getting stuck on emails, right? We have email list trainings. We have someone coming in next week to talk about your email funnel and what needs to go in your nurture sequence. Like, we have so much information, templates, and tools around how to be consistent with your email. If you are looking for social media content because you're like, oh my gosh, the social media content is really getting me stumped, that is my original focus. So I know a lot about social media and I have so many tools in there. We have weekly content guides with like beautifully designed templates, not Canva templates. Like, we have a designer doing it and actually doing like unique templates with multiple different styles. So if you're a minimalist, we have a minimalist design. If you're more like stimulating design, we have a stimulating version. I mean, lots of different template designs so you can get consistent, but get strategic with your content. Our content guides are not just like, post about something you're working on, here's a template. We are anti that. Instead, we're going to walk you through exactly how to uncover the message that goes on the content prompts that we share, so that you are getting punchier and more memorable with your content, and also more strategic. So that's the social media side of things. We also have monthly group coaching calls with me, and monthly content office hours if you want to work on content with me. And we have strategy calls where we have experts come in and coach you on various topics. And we have quarterly consistency challenges where you can actually win coaching with me just because you post consistently, even if consistently means like twice a week. Like, you set the goal and you might still win. So it's a truly incredible community of coaches all working on becoming the go-to coach in their industry. And if that's a goal, there's probably a spot for you in this community.
Amazing. I am definitely going to be dropping the link. By the way, for those of you that are watching this, go in the description. I'm going to be sharing the link where you can go check out, learn more about the Go-To Coach Club. We'll also share Sophia's Instagram, so you can go in and check out, you know, her Instagram and connect with her over there too. Amazing. Like, I want to join now. I'm like, I've learned so much just on this call. I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
Oh my God, I hope you do. I would love to see you in there. I mean, we definitely have a lot of fun in there. I will also share in the description, I'll give you like every week I share, like, for example, the growth formula that we touched on today about understanding your numbers, like that's a mathematical equation that has a few more steps that I actually am writing out for my email list this week. So I share like things like that every single week for people, depending on what questions I get. So I'll give you a link for that too, if anyone wants to get on the list and just make sure that they're getting that weekly, like, those weekly juicy tips that can just help them take small steps in their marketing strategy.
So good. So good. And you also have the text messaging, which
I do.
by the way, I was in Europe and I was getting them and I'm like, what's texting me today? I'm like, this is
my God. That makes me so happy. I do. Yes. Should I get the phone number for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, what is my phone number? But I've got it right here. The good news about this is that I can get the number easily. Okay. It's 917-810-2418.
Fantastic. And so what do they do with that? They just type it in text and be like, hey, send me the goods.
Yep. Yeah. If you know what, if you if you text me marketing, you'll get put on that list. So that's all you got to do. Text marketing to that number.
It's so good. It's so good. Like
thank you.
The pieces of wisdom that you share on that, a couple times a week, several times a week is so good. I'm like, I never thought about it that way. That's awesome. Or, I need to write that one down. So
my gosh.
it.
That makes my day. I love the text list. And I think the best part about the text list is like, you can like reply and be like, oh, this makes sense, but I have a question. And like, I can't always get everyone's question like the day you send it, but I will get back to you. I've never missed a text. I get back to everyone. Right. So it's like, that's a good way to like be in touch with me too. And we haven't done one in a while, but we have one coming up in August where we do a Q&A day where it's literally like I devote the entire day to answering questions. So you can send me any question, even if it's like, can you look at this post and give me feedback? Like it can be whatever you want. And I go first come, first serve. So we call that Q&A party.
You're amazing. Seriously.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing. So much value, so much generosity, so much giving. And it just feels good to be in your presence.
That makes me so happy.
So
thank you.
Thank you for doing the work that you're doing to help all of us and to help coaches get their message out there, because there are so many people that need coaches and there's so many people that are suffering. And if we can help coaches not just get their message out there, but actually impact others, it makes our world just so much healthier and happier.
I could not agree more. And I so appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here today, Sophia.
Thank you for having me.
Click the link, go say hello to her, tell her I sent you, say, hey, I saw you on Chris's YouTube channel. And then we will be back next week for another version of Shine Wellthy. All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye.